Hey there, I'm Roxane Webster.
And I'm Keith Alba.
We are with my home team at Keller Williams Advantage Realty in Golden, Colorado. And you have joined us for yet another fun, exciting, spectacular, not to mention modest version of the Honest Hour.
That's right. That's right. When we come together and talk things and dealing with the real estate industry, with businesses, with really anything that can kind of touch or affect real estate, and bring it to you in a note, as Rox will say, low spin kind of a thing, where the only spin that happens is her in her chair. But yeah, just kind of our opportunity to get some thoughts out there and get you guys some information. So if you find it valuable, make sure you pop on down and click that subscribe button. You'll get, and then hit that bell. You'll get notified when new episodes come out, right? And do this on a weekly basis.
They come out on a weekly basis. Well, hey, what is everybody talking about these days, sir?
Oh, the good old unemployment and inflation and state of the economy.
And inflation. And I think that those two really can't be separated. And there's a lot of weird dynamics between the two. National unemployment rates continue to go down, 4.2% nationally. And as of end of October in Colorado, that number was 5.6. So we're still kind of trailing the rest of the country in unemployment recovery, but we've still got nobody's able to get people to work. Have you been to a restaurant lately?
Yeah. Just about every restaurant I go to, is like, please be kind. We're short staffed. Be nice to the workers that showed up today. Please don't drive them out because they're struggling with it.
Because we're doomed. That's right. Yeah. And there may be a whole lot of reasons for that. But I think that when we look at that, we've also got a lot of concerns about inflation. In the latest inflation report, we saw, what did I say, 6.2% increase in inflation in consumer price index.
Right.
And that's kind of the very top end of the comfort zone for inflation, and who knows where it's going to go, right? There's a lot of, one whole side of the world thinks it's because of supply chains. A whole other side of the world thinks it's because we're printing money. Ultimately, it really just kind of doesn't matter, does it, at this moment? You can't go back and undo either of those things.
That's right. That's right. I mean, what's done is done. And the initial thought process, at least coming out of, the Fed reserves, was that it was a transitory inflation, that it was just some of the issues from the lockdowns and, things like that was causing some supply chain challenges. But the longer that we're experiencing these challenges, the more difficult it is to continue to hold that line and say, oh, this will pass, right? It's something that's saying, oh, wait a minute, we may have overstated the transitory factor of, this inflation that we're experiencing. And now you're starting to see them talk about taking action to address it.
The Fed met last week, and they're talking about increasing interest rates more rapidly than they were planning to. The initial signals out of the Fed was that they were going to look at increasing interest rates starting the end of next year, end of 2022. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing it within 90 days myself.
Yeah, I would be surprised if we make it through the first quarter of 22 without at least some initial rate hikes, because that over 6% in the CPI is painful, man, and we're feeling it. Everybody that's going out there and buying goods or paying their energy bills or putting gas in their car. Some action has been taken to address some of the gas prices, and tapped into our reserves with the U.S. and whatnot to kind of put some additional oil out there. But it's costly, and people are feeling it.
Looking for a car this week because I had a fender bender last week, and I suspect my car is going to get totaled. And the same, I've been driving this 2014 RAV4 that I think I bought for 17 grand 3 years ago. That same year, make, model right now, I wouldn't be able to touch for under 23,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. We got the better side of that as we sold one of our cars that we've had for a long time, but we had that car for 10 years and put over 200,000 miles on it. We ended up selling it for $3,500 less than what we bought it for 10 years
Right.
previous. It's just
Unbelievable.
insane. It's crazy. Yeah, the cars, another great example of some of the supply chain issues that have caused that. The chip shortage in the new cars has put a severe restriction on the supply there. So a lot more people are turning to the used car market, and now there's huge demand in that. And your example is a perfect testimony to exactly what people are.
That's exactly it. So as far as a little bit of economic education goes, why does increasing interest rates help inflation, Keith?
So the theory behind it is, as interest rates increase, people can earn more money by saving, right? The money that they're keeping in their bank, earning additional monies from that higher interest rates. And so there's less spending that goes on out there, and the less spending has an effect on the economy. So the economy starts slowing down. And so there's just less demand. And so the prices will have to accommodate for that lower demand. So it's kind of the thought process behind it.
So interesting right now, because some of the stuff we've been reading and talking about is that U.S. savings rates are at the highest rate since before World War II right now, right?
Right.
So do people save and invest more of that? And Wall Street, who knows? Wall Street is still going gangbusters. If we know that there is an increase in interest rates, eventually that filters down to mortgage interest rates. It means less people buying with borrowing, but does it mean less people buying? Who knows? Right. So, we've kind of got these weird Earth 1, Earth 2 right now, the economy and then the housing market, and the two can't be separated from one another. But the housing market just seems to be chugging along almost in spite of whatever else is going on in the economy, with that kind of ominous underpinning of these forbearances that we've been talking about.
Yeah. It's interesting, the housing is a basic need of survivability, and so there's always going to be a demand for some housing in some form or fashion. And there's been a huge push in terms of people buying and not the same response in terms of people selling. And so you get this massive reduction of available inventory that's out there, but large demands, and then all this unknown kind of behind the curtain, so to speak, of what's happening with the economy. How is it going to last? What is the effects of this interest rate's going to have on things like the stock market, like you were talking about, and is that going to affect people's wealth and ability to hang on to maybe some of these properties that they picked up during the pandemic or recently?
I mean, the whole other side of it, we said, okay, why is increasing interest rates good for the economy, which you answered. What does that do to retirees?
Well, it's a challenge, right? It's if they're not making enough interest on the monies that they've saved for retirement, right? All of a sudden their cost of retirement has gone up because the goods that they're buying with those retired funds is now more expensive.
So even though they may be making more money on Wall Street, if they're paying twice what they would have for a car, if their energy prices are up 35, 40%, which we're seeing in portions of the market, food up 6, 8, 10% in some parts of the country, the pace at which the cost of living and putting one foot in front of the other and paying for energy and keeping your house warm and feeding your family and blah, 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 that cost is increasing faster than any possible gains they may have on buckling down and doing more savings.
Right, which means their savings is dwindling, right? And
that's right.
It's not going to last them as long as they had initially and planned out, because now all of a sudden they're spending it at a higher rate than their returns are able to replenish it. And because it's going at a higher rate, they're not going to be able to have those funds for as long as they initially intended. So,
add to that, we saw a bunch of boomers retire early during COVID. They thought, okay, we've got more house wealth than we thought we did. We're able to, we don't want to go back into the offices because of fears of COVID. And now what? If those folks see their retirement start underperforming because they advanced their retirement plans a little bit early, I think we can continue to see disruption in that market as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you nailed kind of two of the reasons why, well, two of the reasons I've seen out there on the Great Resignation, right? What's causing all these people to just go in and quit their jobs? It was 120,000 people quit their jobs in the state of Colorado. I want to say it was in September. I'm looking for the number real quick while we're there, but yeah, it's just a staggering number of people that are leaving the jobs that they have, which is compounding the fact that businesses are having a hard time getting workers, right? So they have somebody and all of a sudden this one's gone. Now they're out there fighting among everybody else. But yeah, it is retirement was one of the reasons that people are citing for that. Some are retreating, as you mentioned, kind of saying, okay, this pandemic is not over. I'm not comfortable being out there and the front line or interacting that closely with the general public and somebody that may be covering. And then the third one is what they're referring to as forging a new path. So taking an opportunity to maybe get into a different industry or something along those lines, because there's some jobs that are open, paying higher amounts of money, things along those lines. And so fascinating stuff. And I don't know, we'll be here to continue to bring you news and information on it as it comes out.
Sorry about my little barking dog. And we will be back again next week. Thank you.
See ya.